Hello there, Sarah Madras here, founder of Esteem Builders Coaching. Welcome, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. If this is the first time you've stumbled across this YouTube channel, let me give you a very warm welcome and kind of let you know a little bit about what goes on here. So Esteem Builders Coaching is all about relationships. The relationship with yourself, with others, at work, at home, in your life, and in your family. And the reason I'm so passionate about relationships is because as a motivational speaker and a relationship therapist for the last 12 years, I've seen firsthand how relationships and learning to be awesome rock stars at relationships is the number one thing to your overall happiness. And let's face it, I want you to be happy. I want you to have relationships where you feel loved and respected and understood and appreciated. And so that is what I'm going to be teaching today, is the number one skill of communication that is a game changer. So when it comes to communication, we can learn all kinds of things, but the number one thing, the number one skill that's going to change everything is the skill of validation and empathy. And so don't turn away just yet. So let me get into what that actually means, because I don't want you to think, oh no, just another therapist using therapist words. And so what validation is that person understands me. They see me. And what empathy is that person gets me. They are able to get my pain. They are able to get how I feel. They get me. And when you have mastered the skills of validation and empathy, then you are like the rock star relationships where the person feels, I feel so protected. I feel loved. And you turn in their eyes, you have now become the sexiest person on earth because they feel protected and loved by you, because they feel that you understand them and that you truly get who they are. And so learning the skill of validation and empathy is not that easy. I'm going to be honest with you. I've been married. We're coming up on our 9-year anniversary. And just this past weekend, my husband and I were having the conversation, and he was still saying, no, I don't agree. And he was still struggling with the concept of validation and empathy, because a lot of times he's like, well, I don't want to validate something that I don't agree with, because then it's like saying I agree with it too. And it's not. So validation is not agreement. And the reason that this came up is because I got an email from someone asking for the relationship Q&A. And so if you haven't heard already, I'm now offering where you can send me an email with your relationship question. So the email address should be in the description of the video. And if you have a relationship question or you're struggling somewhere and you want some guidance and some help, shoot me your question, and then I'll answer it on video and give you some help with it, okay? Give you some feedback. So kind of think of it as a little more sassy and fierce, like Dear Abby, okay? So the question that came in was, the individual said that she is having a hard time in the relationship because she feels like she's saying the same thing over and over again. And it's the same argument on repeat, just maybe a new situation. And that she never feels understood. And she never feels like she gets it, that it's her saying, no, this is how I feel, and that it's her partner arguing their point of view. So it just turns into this like merry-go-round of like, this is how I feel, no, this is how I feel, and round and round and round and round, trying to see whoever can, be the loudest or talk the longest in order to get their point across. And so she ends up just feeling depleted. And for her, it's starting to feel hopeless, is what she said. And so the solution to that is validation and empathy. So in this scenario, when someone comes to you and says, hey, I feel like we haven't been spending a lot of time together. I miss our one-on-one time. We've been hanging out with your friends a lot and doing a lot of group things, but I'm really missing our one-on-one time and I don't feel like a priority anymore to you. When the person comes and says that to you, you might immediately want to defend yourself of like, what are you talking about? I am spending time with you. You are valuable to me. I call you on the phone every day. I send you texts from work, and you want to defend yourself and rattle off all the evidence to support your case of, I do spend enough time with you. How can you possibly want more? And you have to really fight that urge to defend, because defensiveness comes from that shame place of, I'm not enough to fulfill her, or I'm not doing enough to fulfill her, or nothing I do is ever going to fulfill her. She's not going to be happy. So when somebody comes back being defensive, it means that their shame, that they're not enough, is being triggered. And so if that happens, just reassure that person, like take a second and say, and try to reassure them, and then say, I understand, I notice that you're getting defensive and telling me all the ways that you feel you have been giving me attention. And so I want to reassure you that I know that you love me and care about me. I'm letting you know I miss you and I want us to spend more one-on-one time together. So hopefully providing that reassurance will let that person who's being defensive kind of shift gears into validation. Because when they say, I miss you, they're telling you, I am in pain. I'm feeling loneliness. I am feeling unloved. And so they're saying, here is my pain, and let's work on it together to solve it. Like, let's figure out a way to soothe this pain. And so when somebody hands you their pain and you say, no, that's not true, it's then shaming them. It's saying, no, how you feel isn't right. So you're not giving them credit for their feelings. You're telling them how they feel is wrong. And that creates these little droplets, like you're kind of staining it, the moment, staining how they feel with shame of, you shouldn't feel that way. Your feelings are wrong. You're wrong for feeling that way, things like that. And so then you can get stuck in that shame merry-go-round of, I'm right, no, I'm right, because you want to feel you're enough and you are important. And so the way that you can stop that merry-go-round is through the validation and the empathy. And so validation is saying, and I actually want to read you a quote because it's so perfectly stated that I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. So validation is, regardless of if I agree with everything she is saying, her feelings are her feelings, and I'm never going to invalidate them. So if she feels that I'm not good at giving her the individual one-on-one time, I have to be more aware of that, and I have to make a better effort. I want her to know I do try because her relationship is important to me, and that I want to try and will try harder moving forward. So that is a great example of validation. So whether you agree or not is not the point. Whether you can rattle off, a list of evidence of how you feel you have spent one-on-one time together, or try to show them that they're important, they are needing more one-on-one time. They're needing that connection. And so you say, I hear that you need that connection. You are important to me. And so I will be more mindful to put in that extra effort and do more moving forward. I will be more purposeful to make it so that we have one-on-one time together more often, because you're important to me and because I value you. And so that is what validation looks like. Now this weekend, when I was talking to my husband about it, he was like, well, what if you feel like you already are giving them enough one-on-one attention? What if you don't want to give them any more attention than what you already are? And my response to that was, that is your choice. We all have choices in situations. And if you are saying, I don't want to give any more to this, I don't want to spend any more one-on-one time with you, I feel like I'm doing enough and I don't want to give any more. That is your choice. And that choice has results of then knowing that person has reached out to you and said, this is my pain, and I want to connect with you. And you have said, no, I don't want to connect any more than I already am. And so that's pushing that other person away. And so that's letting that other person know that this is as much as you're willing to invest into that relationship. And so you can say that if you're okay with the end result being that that relationship may not flourish anymore. So if my husband says to me, I need to play golf every weekend, and he says, that is my coping, and that I'm so stressed out and I need golf every weekend in order to be a good husband, in order to be a good father, I have a choice to say, okay, that is your pain, that is your struggle, and this is your solution to that pain or struggle. Or I have a choice to say, that's not okay with me for you to be gone and away from the family, every single weekend. And so you have these choices. But when someone comes to you with their pain, know that it's not about you defending yourself and saying, and being an attorney and proving your case. It's about you acknowledging that person and saying, that is how you feel. That is your truth. That is your reality, that you would like more one-on-one time with me. And because I love you and care about you, I want to take the effort and be purposeful and deliberate of creating more space for you and more one-on-one time with you. Okay? So that's validation. Empathy is being able to tap into a time in your life that you felt that way too. So with the example of not spending a lot of one-on-one time together and the other person wanting more one-on-one time, that person is feeling lonely. And so you have to ask yourself, what is the feeling that they are experiencing? She's coming to me with a concern of we're not spending enough one-on-one time together. And so I have to say, well, what feeling is that person experiencing? Maybe they're feeling loneliness. Maybe they're feeling rejection. Maybe they're feeling insecure. And so you say, has there ever been a time when I felt lonely? And you go back into your memory database and all your memories and you go, oh, there was a time when I felt lonely when I wanted to spend time with my older brother and just hang out with us. But then he invited all of his friends along. And then it turned into a group thing when I was really hoping it was just going to be us hanging out. And I felt lonely because I wasn't getting that one-on-one connection with my brother. It was all of us in a group and he was giving his attention to everybody. And I really just wanted it to be me and him that went fishing that day. So you take that and you're like, okay, I felt a similar way at X, Y, and Z time in my life. And then you say to that person, you say, I understand that you're feeling lonely because you wanted that time for us to connect and I was giving my energy and my attention to everyone, to the group. And I feel, I feel sad that you feel lonely. And because of that, I'm going to make it a point to have more time with just us. And so that is empathy, because you can say, I know you're feeling lonely and I know that sucks because I felt lonely when I was a kid and I wanted to go fishing with my brother. And then at the last minute, he invited all of his friends and I was really disappointed because I thought we were going to have time to hang out, just us. And then he gave his attention to everybody. And so I felt really alone and really disappointed. Then your partner's like, oh, that like exhale of, yes, they get it. They get me. And that creates that connection and that feeling like they get me, so I'm protected and I'm loved because we have that deep connection of the validation and of the empathy, okay? So empathy is being able to experience what that other person is experiencing, even if not in that moment, in that situation, that you tap into a moment in a situation where you felt that same way, and then you can share that with them of like, oh, I understand how you feel because I felt that way, back when I was a kid in X, Y, and Z. And then you're like, I understand you're feeling that way and I feel regretful that I didn't know this before, and now that I know, I'll do a better job moving forward. This can be used in any relationship. This is work relationships between coworkers, bosses, employees. Like I go into corporations and I'm teaching this stuff of this is how you validate a customer so that it doesn't escalate into hurt feelings and arguments and fights that last for days or merry-go-round. So when a customer calls you and they're dissatisfied with something, you're not going to argue with them and say, no, you have no reason to be dissatisfied because we did 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to satisfy you. You have to validate that customer and say, I hear that you're feeling dissatisfied, that it didn't meet your expectations. I've had that experience before and it sucks. And so I'm sorry that, I hate to hear that you're feeling dissatisfied. And here's some solutions of what we can do moving forward so that you do feel satisfied. That's a customer that's going to feel that the person gets them, like that the company gets them and values them. And that's a customer that then is going to come back and say, hey, this company valued me as a customer and they got me. They understood me of why I was dissatisfied. So it is the number one most powerful communication tool you can use. So practice validation and empathy. Feel free to comment below with any questions or any comments or how I can help further with it, because I know that this is a really, really, it is a difficult skill that requires practice like anything else. It requires practice for us to be able to master it. So until then, feel free to comment or share and like and email me below. And as always, build what you need.